that a song?
You're always singing when we get started too. It's so funny. Hi
Hello,
everyone.
hello. Welcome to
Welcome.
Fempreneur True Confessions. We do. We need a theme song.
We said this last week and I said, okay, we were gonna poll the
No, that
audience.
was
So
last
we
month, girl. Time flies when
oh,
you're having fun.
shit. Yeah, I thought that was last week. But anyway. Yeah. So if any of our audience members or anyone who's seen this has a suggestion on theme music, we would love to hear, knowing
I know
that,
a
kind of
composer.
who we are.
I know a composer who could do it for us, but just the music part. I don't know about lyrics. But lyrics would be simple. Like it would just be our mission, vision, values, mission, vision statement, maybe.
We
Um,
need a whole brand new song.
anyway, we're open to ideas, people.
Right.
Welcome to fucking Monday. Okay. Here we are. We made it. We showed up again.
Monday's already Monday. So
Yep.
we're going to let Monday be Monday and
Gonna let it
embrace
be.
it in
Let it
glory.
be.
Yes, absolutely. We hope you all are doing great. We're in Mercury retrograde.
Well, to a microwave.
And it is Technical Dickies Day, and
Yes.
it's clearly gibberish. I don't know English in this moment. So we're going to have fun because, yeah. But if you don't know, I'm Laura, and I am a Fempreneur with an amazing agency of virtual assistants and project managers that are just really wonderfully working with our clients to get them the best outcome in their business and all the help that they need behind the scenes. It's really amazing working in their businesses and helping to organize and get all this stuff done. And that is what we do here at ODA.
Yeah, that's
And
kind of what I do too. We
yeah,
do similar things and we don't compete, we collaborate and we help each other and we flourish as a result. So,
yeah.
and we invite anyone listening to do the
Mm-hmm.
same. And that's what we're here to talk about is how to do that. Everybody's experience with entrepreneurship is different. And so let's, oh, and yeah, so I do the same thing as Laura, Angelique with Lady Powerhouse Solutions. So uh, we're cutting it short today because we're on a time crunch, but we still have a great guest today.
We
Um,
do. She's really wonderful. I loved her when we had our meeting, our beforehand meetings, when we meet everyone before the podcast, before they book. We had a great time. So Andrea Mason is here with us today. And she is your first choice alumna of Les Brown, globally certified motivational speaker and coach with over 2 decades of experience in mental health. A holder of degrees in social work, psychology, certified small business, and entrepreneurship, along with along as, as a certified professional advisor. As an accountability coach and solution specialist strategist, she coaches worldwide under her initiative Press Play, Plan Life According to You, LLC. As a As a Colombian adoptee, she connects virtually with children in orphanages globally. She hosts the Unleashing of the Champion Within podcast on Spotify, and was a featured speaker in New York City's Latino World Travel Fest 2023. She is also the founder of Bringing the World Together, a global virtual platform for international dignitaries and community leaders, kings, queens, dignitaries, and pillars of the community to showcase their local initiatives with global impact. Andrea achieved Amazon's #1 best-selling international author, contributing to her heartfelt story as to an international anthology, and has been a featured speaker in several global magazines. She is also a global ambassador for several global projects that affect, impact, and support worldwide conditions to enhance the quality of life of others emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and to strengthen health and wellness for a well-balanced, prosperous life. Her greatest success thus far was the book launch of her book titled Victim to Victorious, which was hosted by Les Brown and Lauren Hudson. Welcome, Andrea. We're so here today.
Hello. Yes, thank you, ladies, for having me. Angelique and Laura, thank you so much. It's an honor, privilege to be here. Yes, this magnificent Monday where chaos happens, words don't work, technology is, testy, so it's all good. Thank you so much for having me here.
Well,
Absolutely.
welcome. Obviously, I was
So
thirsty.
excited.
One of the things that really stuck out, one of the first things when we were reading the intake form and doing the interview, was this mindset of victim to victorious, right? Like
Yes.
your book,
Yes.
which is freaking awesome.
Thank you.
And I love that, but those are words that are easy to say and kind of more difficult to. It's like just one of those things. It's easier said than done, kind of, right? But one of the things that I loved in the intake answers that you provided was something you learned from Les Brown was that what makes you different makes you authentic.
Right. Yes. He had spoken to me, really was the hook, line, and sinker, if you will, was when he said, other people's opinions don't have to become your reality. And that's the mindset I've been living with my whole life. Somebody was here to judge, somebody here was a naysayer, somebody was a bully, an abuser, or a dictator. And you hear it so often enough, you tend to believe it. And when the world shifted in 2020, I remember I was at the peak and I loved what I was doing. I was an optimal job and a motivational wellness specialist in a wellness center where people were able to really discover their own minds and bodies. And that position and business was no longer. And I remember scrolling through social media and I said, wait a minute, this voice sounds so familiar. And it was Les Brown. And he said, are you going through it or are you growing through it? And I said, oh my goodness, you know what? I've been living a life of victimization instead of victory. And it was at that time that I looked back at my life and saw everything that I was doing. And I said, wait a minute, I don't need to be vengeful. I don't need to be toxic. I don't need to be negative. Let me take all that I've experienced and put it into lesson and being a living testimony for it. And that was what really shifted my mindset at that time, that the decades of social work and psychology industries helped the basic foundation of the multicultural facets around the world and the science behind the mind. And then now putting it all together with my personal experiences.
Yeah. And that's what we like to talk about here on this podcast is the personal experience, like what experiences that we've had or we have inspired us to put ourselves on this journey of entrepreneurship, which isn't easy.
No.
And then keep going. Sometimes I think it's like going to the gym, just getting there. Once you're there, for me personally, once I'm there, I'm good. It's just getting there. That's the hard part.
That
For
first step.
entrepreneurship, I think it's easy for us to jump into the idea of it. And what's hard is maintaining that consistency and showing up every day, like really showing up.
Yeah, and I love you mentioned that, and Angelique, because Angelique, I want to pronounce your name correctly.
Yeah.
Angelique, okay. And that's what really is powerful, what you said, is showing up and never giving up. It's that first step. We all have a start line in our lives, and it's just a matter of that motivation incentive. But what I really bring to the table is looking into your authentic self and saying, what is my intention and where am I going to put my attention towards? Because like you said, it's getting there, and it's the belief system. Les Brown says sometimes when he was going through his journey, he had mentioned this time and time again. He says, I just need somebody else to believe in me as much as I do. That way, that gives me the momentum to launch and lead going forward. And we're our own worst critics. You see it all the
Yeah.
time, especially with social media. We are not accustomed to having global presence and audience with us, even if it's for 1 second, 1 minute, or 1 hour. But what are we doing? We're checking those stats. We're checking those numbers. We're checking those emojis, those likes, those shares, which are all well and good. But as the greats say, energy flows where focus goes. If we're focusing on the positivity, the passion, the legacy, the message, the vision, and the mission, that's all we need. And then we can coast along going forward with perseverance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was kind of where I was headed with the question. Like,
Mhm.
what makes you different is what makes you authentic.
Mhm.
And this idea of going from victim to victorious. Um, your motto, which is what the episode's titled after, that follow your heart, not the herd or the hurt. And but what I'm curious is about is, what was the catalyst that started you on this entrepreneurial journey? What motivated you to start, and what keeps you going?
Well, to be quite honest, great question. I was tired of the hamster wheel of life. I was tired of just doing my best and not getting the recognition nor
Was
the
there a specific instance?
there. So actually, yes, when I was going through jobs, I like to say nowadays I've learned I'm the masteress of failure. I fail at everything. But what is amazing about it is I just found another way not to do something to rule it out. And so I remember I was doing an internship and I was waiting to board public transportation. And everybody was on this long, long, long line waiting for the transportation to arrive. And I was on the phone with a family member, and I was like, "This is ridiculous. Nobody's going to get on, this transportation because I'll never get home in time." So they had
Mhm.
said, "Well, why don't you just move up, fill out the space in the waiting area rather than have this linear line, this single line?" And I was just like, "I don't want to do that. I want to pass everybody up. I'm going to get beat up." And so I moved forward. Ladies, it was like the sun just, opened up. The skies opened up. Everybody moved forward. And all the complaints, I'm going to miss my bus, I'm going to miss my train, I'm going to miss whatever, silenced. And everybody got on at the same time. And that's what propelled me. Follow your heart, not the hurt of the masses or what you hear, nor the hurt feeling that victimization. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get bullied or abused or judged if I move forward in this line. So that physical analogy, it's like that cartoon caricature of all the lambs, or the sheep, I should say, are following this little opening. Meanwhile, there's a whole vast meadow where you could go. But because one sheep decided to go down this path, everybody was following the herd. And
Yeah.
so that was an analogy, a sign, I believe. Hey, just follow your intuition. Don't worry about what other people say. Obviously, there's some, caveats of like not hurting others or doing anything illegal or wrong, but your intuition always steers you right. It's those butterflies. It's that golf ball in your throat. It's that fear, because on the other side of fear is success, is moving forward. So that, Angelique, was the actual pivotal moment that I was like, oh my goodness, this can be an analogy of what I need to do in life. I don't have to live a life of vengeance. I don't have to live a life of victimhood. I could change my channel, what I call when I work with people, shift my frequency and make my own choice. And that's what we're forgetting today in today's day and age. We have
Yeah.
a chance and a choice to make a decision. And our lessons and our losses from the past will steer us right. We just have to be open-minded and have that faith, that belief that my intuition and following my heart is going to steer me in the right place.
Yeah. A friend of mine calls it being tuned in.
Yes.
And that's one of my favorite parts of The Secret, was when they talked about
Yes, right
when you
here.
tune in, yes, when you tune in a radio to a specific channel
Yes.
to get this country music. But if you
Mhm.
don't feel like country music today, guess what? You can change the channel. You
Yes.
can change the frequency and
Mhm.
tune into classical or hip
Mhm.
hop or metal,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
But you're the one in control of that knob and that frequency and that tuning and
Mhm.
changing the channel. And that was one thing that I never forgot. And the other part of that was we don't know how any of that shit works. I don't know how we get sound or internet or Wi-Fi or whatever,
Right.
How does when I
Yeah.
grew up with records. That's
Yes.
how old I am. Yes,
Yes.
I am proud of it. I still have a record player. I love records. And you
Right.
put that record
The
on there and
tracks.
you put the needle
We're
on it and it
still
goes around and it we don't know how that works,
Right.
even the
Right.
but the
sound, like
sound comes out.
the static, like you get presence in that sound, the
Yes.
needle, the way it, because there used to be a sound to
Yes.
just the needle in the record outside of the music, and you would tune into
Right.
that, like you knew, like it's the start,
Yes.
it's like at the beginning kind of
Yep.
thing.
Yes.
So we were watching a documentary last night on grounding. It's called
Mm.
Earthing.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
there's and the guy who kind of discovered this and wrote the book on it literally was a cable guy by
Mm.
trade.
Wow.
And one of the things he mentioned, I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense is
Yes.
when you're not grounded, there's all this static
Right.
on the
Mhm.
TV. Like you could tell when a house wasn't grounded, there was
Mhm.
snow. Remember when we had to change the
Yes.
channels manually with
Yes.
the
That little.
knob?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And every time you would turn the channel, it would just be static. It would be
Right.
and then you
Yeah.
change the channel until you got one that was tuned into the right frequency, right?
Right. Yeah. I
Um,
remember. Go ahead. Yeah.
no,
That's
that was
big.
I was like, okay, when I feel staticky, when I feel confused, I don't have clarity, I'm not tuned in. I need to stop
Exactly.
and get grounded, clear the field, right?
Mhm.
What were you
Yeah.
gonna say?
No, absolutely. I two things. I remember when when you go on a road trip and you're going across the state borders, and all of a sudden it's like you're hearing class, you're hearing like country or pop, and then all of a sudden there's a little bit of country, and you're like, well, this is a weird melody. It's like I want to hear, you don't want to hear, somebody like Willie Nelson with like Beyonce. That's going to be weird. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
but
The
can we just
channels
pick one
get
of them and they get
combined.
merged, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
it sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that's what we have to tap into. And what we also have to be mindful of is the kinetic energy and the frequencies of others. When we're going into a room, a restaurant, a public space, there's some places where you're like, okay, there's a lot of tension in here. So, you feel it in your body, your posture, your frequency. And then there's other ones like they got the music bumping. Music is a universal language, and that's what the beauty of it. And that was one of my escape routes going through my life, to just throw in those headphones and really get lost in the music, to depending upon my mood. And then the other component I was going to talk about was, so we were talking about the radio and the frequencies, is that we have the opportunity to really kind of assess the situation beforehand. Or I know in the old days they would say, leave your personal life at the door when you came into work. And sometimes it was difficult, but you had to kind of regroup. And I remember people talking about, as you mentioned, grounding. Definitely in the warmer months, just going outside and putting your feet in the grass and really getting rooted to the earth, or having that vitamin D of sun on your face a few moments. It's really bringing back the essence of connectivity with everything around you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
absolutely. And it's,
sorry, go
oh,
ahead, Laura.
I was just gonna say, we've always made a joke of it when people are like really like up there and they're all stressed, and I always make a joke like, "Go touch grass,"
Mm-hmm.
and oh yeah, like it's a reminder. I have to be reminded, go out ground, and I wear copper
Mm-hmm.
rings and stuff, but it's that reminder of, at the very
Yeah.
least, you're way up here. Go out there, stand in the grass, and do that. And
Mm-hmm.
I've taken to gazing at the sun at sundown with my eyes closed, but really
Mm-hmm.
just standing there while being in the grass and being completely there. I'm more
Mm-hmm.
someone who doesn't always feel with presence. Like I'm not always present in my
Right.
body. Like I kind of tend to want to be all the way out here. I love
Yes.
the ethereal and that kind of thing. So for me, grounding is, remember you're human. Remember you have a home, a life, a business. Like you
Right.
can be out there, but you need to bring that all right back here, because I
Mm-hmm.
have an easier time being in a la la world than I do coming
Yes.
into an energetic world here. So we always laugh about go touch grass. And
Yeah.
I learned recently from my coach, just like even your wall, like your walls can ground you and all that. So
Mm-hmm.
there's times I'll just be like, if
Right.
I'm feeling something, because that's supposed to work. But I love that
Yeah.
idea. It's so simple. Like
Yes.
you don't overthink it. You just stand there, take a deep breath, a good stretch, and just literally just stand.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if that's all, I'm like, well, clear your mind, but just stand there. And sometimes things will come to you, but it's
Really,
so
really
simple
just
that it's scary.
Yeah.
get your feet on the ground, your bare
Yeah.
Mhm.
feet on the ground. I mean, and
Yeah.
even so, I mean, even just walking out on the deck, I used to have a deck and it was
Mm-hmm.
connected to concrete, which is natural material.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. And it's in the ground. That's
Mm-hmm.
still, you're still able to ground through that.
Right.
Not to the same extent, but it's better than nothing, that's for sure.
Right.
But what other experiences have you had since you started your business where it was either pivotal or a lesson learned or an aha moment for you?
One of the pivotal moments that I had to realize is, as much as I want to nurture and give to others, that it's not going to be received as all, you know, that in other words, I may not be for everyone. And
Mm,
I understand that now. I respect it because, when you start your own business, you got the butterflies, you got the high frequencies, the vibrations and whatnot. And I'm going to help everyone. And then you start to realize not everybody's for you and you're not for everybody. So that was a pivotal moment. Okay, I have to kind of be receptive to those who are accepting and respect those who aren't. Everybody's at the different stages of life. And that's why I that makes me unique, is that acting with authenticity and being integral really says, I meet you where you're at. And then I would probably say the aha moment was that when all else fails, this is what I enjoy doing. I love connecting with people. I love learning. I love, the camaraderie and the availability to have access to people all over the world. I've made an adjustment to the two-dimensional world. As an extrovert, I learned over the years, that I love touching and holding people and hugging people and getting that energy back. But I'm now adapting and adopting that I can still get that, maybe not 100%, but I can still get that through the screen, and
Mhm.
I think that's really important, to do what you love, because it's never work, because
Mhm.
you enjoy doing it. And one of the misconceptions that I believe others have, to kind of make some people aware, is when you're a solopreneur, entrepreneur, business person of your own, it's not that 9 to 5 rigid schedule with the hour bookends of half-hour commute. I don't know about you. I love what I do. So I'm doing 13, 16-hour days nonstop, and time flies by, but I enjoy it.
mhm.
Like I said, Les Brown
Called
says, do what
flow.
you love. Yeah, do what you love,
Mhm.
and it's never work. And I enjoy doing it. But you can get lost in the scene of the, how would I say, the logistics of it. You know what I mean? Because you really enjoy what you're doing. Not that it goes by the wayside, but you kind of also have to as Laura and Angelique said, kind of ground yourself. Okay, this is a business. I do want to help everyone, but there also has to be strategic methods and put into place as well.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the
Exactly.
things you like to say is, and I really like this, anything you've gone through gives you the certification, that permission to help other people overcome it. And I think this is really important because, Laura, I think you've probably heard this as well. So many clients come to me and they're like, oh, but I have to do this certification or that certification, or I have all of these certifications. Um,
Mm-hmm.
how do I
Mhm.
make sure people know how educated and certified and letters behind how many
Mm-hmm.
letters I have behind my name and how all
Right.
of that is so important. Um, and y- so I like this idea of this lived experience being the permission
Mm-hmm.
for us to help other people who need help going through the same thing without any kind of official,
Right.
right, recognition, like this
Yes.
validation that we seek
Bless you.
externally,
Right.
when really the universe recently told me you have everything you need is already inside you.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
I think that's a daily reminder. I know people around me constantly are like, Laura, you're supposed to be going inside, not outside. Like there's or supposed to doesn't not that a part of the vocabulary, but it's those you already have the answers, you're just not trusting. And so for me, there's a realization there that okay, I've been told enough times. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that logically that makes sense. I need to figure that internally. But I don't know. I then look outward and go, okay, so does anybody have any ideas or what's the new thing? And
Right.
it's very interesting because I think we get scared sometimes with the idea that those answers are there because
Right.
that is a facing of yourself that is really hard.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about mirrors several times
Yes.
and somebody holding up that mirror in your face, me included, because I hold it
Mm-hmm.
up and I've got to face it too, but that
Yes.
is such a scary thing. And when you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking about going internal, that is all you. Like there
Yes.
is nothing else that it's you, and you just really have to face that. It's much easier to
Yes.
face some of the things outside than it is whatever has happened inside.
Sometimes
And it's
we
not
can't
about
even do
remembering
that.
everything. You don't have to
Right.
relive it and all that, but you still have
Right.
to go internal. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
and so often the things that aggravate us or tick us off or rub us the wrong way in other people, it's because
Yep.
we need to deal with it. And the
Yes.
same thing about what we love about other people.
Mm-hmm.
Why I admire someone so, so, so much, those
Mm-hmm.
qualities, it's because I have those qualities in myself and I recognize them and see them in that other person. I'm like, oh, I know
Yes.
that feeling, that
Yeah.
person, that emotion, that experience, because it's familiar to me. I've been through it.
Right.
Mhm.
And uh, what are some of the, I guess, some of the things that you've gone through that you've been able to actually walk the talk, so to speak, of
Mm-hmm.
being able to help others overcome?
No, great question. I think it also started too when I decided to unplug from the external influences. So I don't watch TV. I don't listen to radio. Anything that I do is by choice. So if I want to hear a song, I'll put it on YouTube or a playlist of some sort of platform. If I want to watch a movie, same thing as always. And what, to your point, I think, anything that you've gone through gives you the permission to help others overcome and achieve it too, is remembering that we are all experiencing life, but at different stages, different chapters, and different pages. And as you had mentioned, Angelique, what you admire in somebody else can be a reflection that you can absorb and then emulate as well. I said we have a choice to reflect or deflect the energies and vibrations that are coming to us. And So one of the strategies that I've learned was like, okay, you know, Matthew McConaughey, the American actor, had said this at one of his collegiate speeches. He said, find out what you don't want or don't want to be, and then you'll carve out who you truly are. And paraphrased. And so what I've done was to say, okay, let me look at my life in milestones and my mistakes and my mishaps, but also my triumphs. And how do I want to come across in taking those tools and experiences into lessons and into stepping stones? And what I've learned is that if I start a conversation or say something, somewhere, somehow, somebody like, yeah, I experienced that, but here was my experience.
Mhm.
And you're able to bring out the experience that we may have at the same moment, but in a different way for whatever reasons, cultural beliefs, upbringings, environment, mindset, where we are with our heart. And that's what makes the human world amazing, because you can find pieces of you in everybody else. Les Brown says we are a piece of the master, and that's what makes us a masterpiece. And we are all part of that. And so if we remember, hey, I went through abuse and bullying, I was shoved into lockers, thrown into trash cans. How did I feel with that? If I can remember that situation and wish it upon no one, but if somebody's getting bullied, maybe they didn't get those physical experiences, but I can share the emotion of what I was going through and allow them to be brave enough and confident enough to face those emotions. Because if we don't face our past will continue to chase us. And as you mentioned, Angelique, earlier in this segment, was that there will be innocent bystanders in our career, in our life, in our relationships, that trigger, that twitch, that somebody gets under your skin. If you don't deal with it, it will be outlashed upon somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was one of the what was the words? What was one thing that I know words a thing for me today?
Good Lord.
What is one of the things that you've gone through that you've been able to, come back around and help others overcome, like a personal experience?
A personal experience that I had gone through was so clear and fresh in my mind when I was a young age. So, as mentioned in my introduction, I'm an adoptee from Colombia during the cartel of South America. I came to America at 11 months old, weighing in 11 pounds. And I'll never forget when my family felt comfortable enough to say at age 7, Andrea, you're adopted, you're our gift, you're our treasure. And I was handed a book that says, why was I adopted? And it's a little kid cartoon character in a candy store and a line of people waiting to choose that person. So that was my mindset. So fast forward, we're doing a project in school of our family tree. And I started bringing pictures or drawing pictures. I couldn't recall exactly what it was. And they were like, well, you don't look like any of your parents. Everybody would look like their parents. And I was like, no, I was adopted. And they said, well, if your parents didn't want you, how are you going to love? And that really was the foundation of like, whoa, here I have this mirage that I'm unconditionally loved. I was chosen. My birth parents, who I have no pictures or photographs or anything from them, at first it was remorse. Really? You send an infant overseas not knowing what the outcome's going to be? To realize that was the greatest gift that they gave me, because they weren't able to take care of themselves. It was during war, and they put in faith or their belief system to give me a better life. I had that mirage of being adopted, only to realize in their eyes, my parents didn't love me. So I had to really process that and go, well, now how do I love? How do I fit in? I don't look like my parents. I don't talk like my parents. Like I said, I failed at everything, school, relationships, jobs, you name it. So it was kind of a validation. Yeah, I don't know how to love. I'm not going to ever fit in. And then it was that aha moment where I said, no, I can be more and do more. I don't want to live in this victim mentality anymore, because I'm attracting it, because I don't think I'm worthy. I'm listening to the naysayers, the non-believers. Let me change my channel. And it was at that moment that I said, all right, obviously social work and psychology it's really for me and not, it's really to me, not for me. It's really helping me heal. And then I made the shift. And luckily hindsight is 2020. And that's when I really stepped into my greatness and really embraced that.
That's awesome.
It's amazing that you were able to overcome that, because you spent a lifetime being positive, or that time frame up to there being positive. And all of a sudden somebody comes in and just decides you need to see the negative. It needs, and then affects your life in that way. It's so horrible when we do, because we do that all the time. And we think about like, I don't have trauma. But little things like that throughout our life, where it's that one person's comment will stick in your head for so long for no reason. It never belonged there, but it's and people kind of, they input their thing, and I'm not always a believer that it was great intentions. I think some people are here to kind of stir the pot, and it may have been a pot that needed to be stirred for you. But it's so sad in the approach and the way that we do that, because your adopted parents were right. They were waiting in line for you. They were absolutely, you were there to be choice, and there was a bunch of choice. Like it, that was such a positive way to bring you into that, and then to have that, so one comment just so,
and that was
bring that.
It was the downward spiral from 7 on. I was abused, neglected, and everything. And I just didn't have that self-worth or value of it. You know, I would go in jobs where I didn't fit in, and I would take everything personally. And that brings to Don Miguel Ruiz, you know, one of the 4 or 5 grievements, depending on which one you do, 4 or 5. Where don't take anything personally, and be impeccable with your word, always do your best, and, you know, don't judge other people. And it's really made a shift. And the outlets that I used was that of music, which was funny you mentioned that, because I would listen to music all the time. I would just get in my headphones. And I also played piano at age 4, learned on my own, and then got taught how to listen to music, then read music, and then go into the athletic realms of soccer or football in Europe. And I learned leadership skills. I learned how to be a team player. I learned how to lose. And so those were the multifacets that helped me get through life, because I was able to see there's another way. You have a choice. You have a chance every single second to shift your mindset. And that's where it all starts. And if it didn't, you know, that's what propelled me in 2016 to go against the grain. You know, I had suppressed my mother's passing in 2007, and it just took a toll on me. And then I remember ending up in the ICU unit 2016, just shy of a decade later, all because of suppressed emotions, burying it deep down inside, not facing with it, grief, loss, all the negativity. And it almost took my life, where I had to use the secret. The late, great Bob Proctor said, dis-ease cannot withstand a healthy and emotional mindset. And I remember getting the call with my beloved, and they said, we need you home. This is not the quality of life you need to leave right now. You have to make a difference. Less than 24 hours after being diagnosed stage 5 myasthenia gravis, I was able to, in an instant, change my channel, change my mindset, and knock on wood, till this day, have a clean bill of health and walk away and get discharged.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
That's a great testimony.
Yeah.
You know, that's powerful.
It's in your mind. It's in your mind. What you believe, you conceive.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
And it's not an easy road. I don't think we want to make it seem like that it's simple.
It's not that simple.
This is journey for life. Like we've all been on this journey in some form or fashion. And the deeper you get into it, the harder it gets. People think, oh, you get deeper, it gets easier because you're learning. No, things come in. So this is not an easy thing or a snap of the finger, but it definitely
It's a process.
It creates that open door and that energy to expand into better ways for you, whatever is better for you. So yeah,
Absolutely.
Awesome. I am looking for the information about next week's guest, so I can.
Yes.
It's a repeat guest,
Jennifer
but
Jane.
Jennifer Jane Young. One of the things that Andrea is offering to our listeners is a cheat sheet for how to follow your heart and not the herd,
Yes.
nor the hurt. We'll drop the link for that in the show notes. And also, she's offering a free 30-minute discovery call. So we'll drop the links for all of that, as well as all her socials and her website and all of the things. Next week is Jennifer Jane Young. She's a repeat guest. She's been on before. We're going to continue our conversation with her. Let's see, what is her?
We'll check out her first episode so that next week we'll be prepared with the conversation for us. If you haven't seen her episode yet, Jennifer Jane Young, go find hers and listen to it before next week.
Yeah, she's an intuitive leadership coach and consultant to entrepreneurs and business leaders around the world. She's an international speaker. She's the author of Say Yes to Your Yes, How to Trust Your Gut and Take the Leap. How fitting is that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
After what we just talked about today, next week, she's going to give you the Say Yes to Your Yes, How to Trust Your Gut and Take the Leap. And since 2011, Jen's leadership roles have spanned several continents, from leading a community of 5,000 entrepreneurs to the International Trade Center as a United Nations consultant to advising startups and multi-million-dollar businesses. She's the founder of the School of Intuitive Leadership. It's a hub and online community where heart-centered, impact-driven entrepreneurs, creatives, and leaders learn to embrace their intuitive wisdom, design their dream lives, and take practical steps forward, experiencing transformation, alignment, and growth in their path towards success. Through her workshops, talks, and signature podcast, Finding Your Flow, and My Intuition Made Me Do It, Jen has helped global entrepreneurs change the paradigm in how they lead their business and transforming lives in the process. So that is next week's guest that will be with us, Jennifer Jane Young. The announcement this week, same as last week, waitlist. We are launching a membership called the Fempreneur Collaborative Network. For our listeners, it's free. We're super excited about it. So go to ftcpodcast.com to sign up, to get notified first and get the opportunity to be one of our beta testers in the community. And I think that's about it. Did I miss anything, Laura?
Nope, I think that was it. We got through all of it.
Yeah, and it's top of the hour on the dot. So
Excellent.
Andrea, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your story with us and our listeners. And we appreciate you spending this time with us and sharing your story with our world.
Absolutely. I welcome the connection. And this is the book, Victim to Victorious. It's on Amazon and on my website, which is right here, www.andreamasons.com. And stay tuned for future events. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah, and we'll drop the links in the show notes as well, okay?
Excellent. Thank you so much, ladies. Have a wonderful
You're very
Monday.
welcome. Yeah, happy Monday. We will see you guys next week.